Meeting, and what do we have first? Got an agenda here somewhere.
We have Bernard, which is requesting my continuance.
This is, what are they requesting, an extension?
A continuance.
Continuance. Town of Walpole Conservation Commission amended order of conditions and land disturbance permit in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection and Bylaw, Walpole Stormwater and Erosion Control Bylaw, regulations. Notice is hereby given in the intent of Bristol Brothers Development Corporation to amend the approved order of conditions, DEP number 315-1173 at Renmar Ave and West Street, map 32, parcels 85, 86, 94, 95, 96, map 40, parcel 6, map 39, parcels 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, for the 100-unit AQV in Walpole, Mass. Amended order of conditions and land disturbance permit, application and plans are on file at the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing on the above matter will be held in person February 22nd, 2023, beginning at 7:15 p.m. All interested persons are requested to be present. Hearing's been opened and continued. We have a email from Crocker Design Group that we would like to request a continuance to the next hearing meeting on May 24th. And what do we have on May 24th? We have two hearings, so we can make this at 7:15. So we'll continue the hearing until 7:15 and May 24th. Someone make that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Okay. And we are, wait till our 7:15. We have minutes from April 26th. Someone want to move those minutes or the discussion?
I couldn't find the video online on the 22nd.
I'll take a look and see if I can send it
You sent me a link. I looked in YouTube's and I saw the one we were in, the most recent one, but I couldn't find the 26th.
Okay, so Dean can't move the minutes. Anybody want to move the
I'll move
minutes?
the minutes.
You got a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone abstain? 501. Um, Anything else you want to go over now?
Certificates of compliance?
We got any certificates here?
Yep, and extensions.
Okay, Birch Street, certificate of compliance. Is that,
Yep, that's all set. That was 5 Birch Street. It was for a pretty small addition. It's been completed for a while. And, all set to go for a certificate of compliance.
okay, someone want to move that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
600. And, okay.
No, that's 20 Stone Street. Oh, I know this one.
for extensions.
So there's 350 West Street, DP 3151203. The project hasn't started yet. It was, they're requesting an extension to October 28th, 2023, 9 months, and that has to do with the COVID tolling period, why it's 9 months.
We'll only do 9 months instead of 12?
That's what they've asked for, yeah.
Okay, so someone will move that
So
request for
moved.
Second.
extension? All in favor?
Aye.
600.
And then the other one is for 1148 Washington Street, DP 3150983. This is a project that's been going on for a while, but they're still not complete, and he's asking for a 1-year extension.
Okay. Someone want to move that?
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
600. Um, Is there anything new on enforcement orders that we
Nothing
need to
new,
bring up at this point?
nothing new on 1900 Main Street, nothing new on Burns Ave, except we haven't received an erosion control report. Peach Street.
When's the last erosion control report we received?
Been a while. The
Um,
site's pretty much been stale, so.
Okay.
So for 1342 Main Street, EP 31505, I did send a letter to Christina Poor of the Norfolk County Veterinarian Hospital and to ask when they were gonna move forward with the project. And the next day I got a email and calls, and the landscaper who's gonna be doing the plantings came by and the work started. So that involved removing the gravel, laying down some loam and a conservation mix and 18 shrubs. And then we also discussed the barrier and the conservation signs.
Is the same landscaper gonna do the barrier? I wonder.
I discussed it with him, so I didn't ask him if he was doing it. I guess I kind of assumed that he was, but I will go out there tomorrow and see how they're progressing. But I was pleased that it was started up so quickly.
And anything new on Clarkson Drive?
Right, so no Clarkson, we said if we were okay with them planting in the
Yeah.
fall. And Peach Street, we're still waiting for a resolution with the neighbors. I will prompt them, I'll prompt him for the next meeting, just to make sure that they are trying to resolve the issue.
Okay. Okay, is there anything else that we need to discuss at this point?
Any of the general business?
Minutes, you talked about
We did minutes.
conservation lands, that the plan is being revised. Willet Pond Access Gifts, we haven't received any additional gifts. Pinnacle Trail, we haven't received any information. Master Plan,
Master plan?
anything new?
No update.
Make one up.
Huh?
Just make one up.
Great job on the master plan, so I think it's all wrapped up.
That's all.
And then what? I mean,
Then it's released for implementation. So the master plan is not a implementation document, does not.
right, where does it get released to? Because remember my initial gripe about a year and a half ago was, where was the previous one?
Yeah,
How could you even find it?
yeah, exactly. It's on the
Okay, so-
website. Once it's released, it'll be on the website, so I think it's going into final documentation now. So then it'll be, it's not an implementation document, it's just like an assessment and plan.
How many pages is it?
I think it's 5,000, 1,200, 5,273. It's big.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you.
Wasn't it the library? I'm not sure.
I know how to find things, and I eventually found it, so that's,
I'll get you the old one and,
oh, no, I saw the old one,
I'll send you the new one when it does get released
right.
this year.
But I agree, I think it's in general, public or often these planning documents get done and then,
Typically, I think the release is when the big town meeting happens.
Oh,
When's the next town meeting?
the fall.
Be in
October.
October.
That's probably when they'll kick it off.
anything interesting about the conservation aspects of stuff?
Actually, this was a boon for the whole town, was that Walpole, all the residents recognize how much green space we have, and it's an asset to our constituents, so. It's not used a lot, and a lot of them, some people complained about, access and common, knowledge of our spaces. Not a lot of people know the trail system that we have. They know it's green, but they don't really know all the trails, so that was part of the master plan, was to educate the locals about, all the parks we have, all the ponds, like Walpole's 12. How many ponds does it have, Landis? 12? Tons.
Sure,
That's
like 12.
the number.
That's even, I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends on what we're counting as a
It
pond.
de-
Yeah.
right, it depends on what you're talking about.
Managed, conservation, that's managed, we have a bunch of ponds. That's it.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that close enough? Warwick Road,
Yeah, I guess it's 7:12.
is there something, do we read in, or we just comment?
We don't
No, I
have
just
to-
comment, right?
Just keep on trucking.
And this is what we've received. They've requested an SOC.
Which one is this?
Yeah, on our agenda, we have a notice of intent for the Warwick Road extension by Wall Street Development. Wall Street Development has requested a superseding order from DEP based on timing issues between the time the notice of intent was submitted and the time it was advertised. So that is under, I said it goes to DEP. Wall Street has requested a superseding order from DEP. So that is that.
So there'll be no public hearing if anyone's here for it. The public hearing was advertised before we received the request for, that the SOC was requested.
Thank you. All right. Then we got Stone Street.
Yeah, it's 7:20.
Anybody have anything else on the commission that they want to bring up at this point? Okay, we'll sit back and relax. For those who we have it scheduled for 7:20, so we have to wait till 7:20 to open the hearing.
Jack, the Willett Pond trail, that's being redesigned without that turnaround, without that
Well,
drop-off area?
don't really want to discuss, it is
Can't
in
discuss it.
it's in redesign, but I don't want to go into details because it was continued for
Right,
our next meeting, which is May 24th.
okay, it's in redesign,
It is in redesign, yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Lovely.
What do we got here? Go to help. Okay. So this is an amendment to that original,
Yes.
for that lot? Who's this?
If any of the commission members are interested, I will be documenting, I've started a micro clover process.
What?
I'm establishing the lawn as micro clover rather than grass.
Really?
And I'm documenting all of it.
Oh, wow.
So I will be.
You have a podcast?
Is that?
Podcast?
Yeah. I will write about it and have a little blurb about it on the conservation page when it's done.
Is it white clover?
It is it's micro clover, so it is a version of the New Zealand, the clover that everybody knows, but much smaller. And it is a nitrogen neutralizer. It is a low water, it is drought tolerant, it's very low maintenance, stays green when everything turns brown.
So where are you getting that from? I mean, it's not native to our area, right?
It is not native per se, but it is not considered an invasive.
But
or
where is it
anything.
from? Where do we see?
I'm sourcing it out of Vermont.
Oh.
A very reputable seed company that they're all, it's all neonicotinoid free. They're extremely well-known company.
Is this a good, for pollinators?
Yeah, because the clover will bloom
Mhm.
smaller. And so a lot of times you'll see these lawns, they're very popular in Vermont.
How big an area are you doing?
My entire front lawn.
Oh, okay.
So that just uses less water than lawn and grass?
It uses less water, it neutralizes nitrogen, and it actually remedies soil because it feeds nutrients back into the soil.
Cool.
And it stays green without having to water. So last year, my whole front lawn died with the drought, or a good portion of it.
Mm.
So I tilled the entire lawn by hand about a month ago.
Wow. Let me see those calluses, you got some.
They're
some
there.
partners.
They're there. But yeah, so at this point, the rain last week really soaked nicely, and now the sun that we've had this week has been pretty good for getting it started, so I'll
Nice.
be having some progress pictures that I'll be happy to share, but it's a good resource for the town if anybody's trying to consider.
Tell the town to do it.
Yeah.
Tell the town to use it. I mean, they got tons of fields.
I mean, you know, how it grows 3 to 6 inches tall, so you really don't have to mow it unless you want to, but it stays very low, and it's really, really tremendous for biodiversity, so,
Well,
Rabbits
dandelions,
will like you.
yeah.
dandelions growing it?
It kind of crowds out weeds, it'll smother other things out, it'll naturalize over time, bare spots it'll creep into your bare spots, so,
Nice.
yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Good.
Good luck. Yeah.
Okay.
7:19.
Town of Walpole amended order of conditions, Conservation Commission public hearing. According to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, the Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, notice hereby given the intent of Carl Cummings to amend the approved order of conditions DEP number 3151224 at 180 Stone Street, map 34, lot 40, Walpole, Mass, for the construction of an in-ground pool with 100-foot, within the 100-foot buffer zone. The amended order of conditions, application, and plans are on file at the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing will be held in person on May 10th, 2022, beginning at 7:20 PM. All interested persons request to be present. We have a letter from the Board of Health. That is March 19th. Board of Health meeting voted unanimously that the Board of Health is not in favor of construction within the wetland buffer zone. The board continues to urge applicants to adopt the standard best practices for mosquito mitigation, work with Norfolk County Mosquito Control for spraying and standing water treatments, institute regular cleaning of gutters, and provide proper grading of buffer zone areas in order to prevent low points that draw and hold water. In addition, the board always advises applicants to be aware, take appropriate measures to store all pool chemicals properly, and to only discharge dechlorinated pool water from the pool when draining. That's all the response, okay? Representing the applicant,
Hi, Carl Cummings, homeowner.
and,
Billy Landry installing a pool.
okay. Tell us what you want to do.
I'd like to install the in-ground pool in the backyard where we're proposing where we're putting it.
Just bring the commission up to speed, so this is amendment to an existing order of conditions, back in 2020, March 2020. They applied for a notice of intent to construct a pretty good-sized addition. The addition was constructed with Caltech drains to the rear. Due to COVID, they received a COVID tolling period, and when I was contacted about wanting to do a pool, we were able to continue the order of conditions still is open, and it made really sense to apply for amended order of conditions to do the pool rather than closing this out and adding another notice of intent. So that's what I recommended to them. The amended order of conditions was advertised, and they notified the butters. And the plan that's in front of you is an as-built plan of the proposed work that was already completed for the addition, with the additional pool sitting in the backyard.
Okay. Dean, any questions?
Yep. How are you going to get equipment back there?
There's actually plenty of access. There's to the, if you're in the driveway to the left of the addition that they put, there's it's about 12 feet from the corner of the house to a fence that exists there. We are gonna pull down 2 fence posts because there's a gate there to allow an excavator and dump truck.
All right, so we would ask that you're gonna, oh, they already have an NOI? Can we put as conditions on this?
They
Yeah,
can add notes to the plan,
okay,
because the plan really gets amended. The order stays the same, you can amend you can put notes in the plan.
yeah, just have that, erosion control. Because you have wetlands all the way, like surrounding your property, well, definitely to the north, just put up erosion control along that whole side, because you're gonna be trucking in and out dirt.
Yeah, so there's, the whole yard is fenced in, and we got erosion control going on the whole inside fence.
Okay, yeah, just wherever you're driving, let's put up erosion control. And then where are you gonna stockpile the soil?
I'm gonna just, as we dig, we're gonna just pull it all out as we go, and then we'll bring it back in.
Okay, so you're gonna stage it off-site, or are you gonna stage it on? You get all, like, you're gonna make a hole, you're gonna fill it in, so they're gonna take the dirt?
Yeah, so we're gonna take about 160 yards out, and then we'll bring back about 80 yards. And we're not gonna stage it anywhere, we're just gonna get rid of it, and then we'll haul in brand-new gravel to backfill the surrounding 3-foot opening that we have for the overdig.
Okay, great. So it is,
So excavates truck.
yeah,
Yeah, there's really not too much room to even stockpile if we want. Normally, I would, if the backfill's good, I would actually stockpile some to backfill the pool. But most of the time, the fill's not as nice as we want to backfill against the pool, so we just truck it all out and we bring in nice clean fill.
that's fine. What kind of pool is it? You got, is it a fiber?
It's a steel pan with a vinyl liner.
Anything else, Dean?
No, thank you.
Bailey?
No questions?
So
Yep.
you can fit an excavator through there to the backyard, yeah,
Yeah, if not, we wouldn't be doing it.
right, right.
Like shovels.
I was gonna say, but they did it at one point.
You'll have a dump truck in the driveway to get everything out.
What's that?
You'll have a dump truck in the driveway to truck everything out.
Well, the truck is gonna get into the back. It's wide.
12
It is, it's
feet
wide
is,
enough,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, very good, no other questions.
Bessie?
No questions.
Al?
I want to know what you're going to do about the water and when you have to drain some water out, where is it going?
So as far as draining the pool, we don't necessarily have to drain it in the winter. We can use special plugs that, instead of getting rid of the water, we can blow the lines out, what they call duct plugs, so we can actually keep the water in the pool. As far as backwashing, which you might be familiar with, we're not gonna use backwashing, we're gonna use a cartridge filter. So that when we clean the filter, we don't lose any water by doing that. We just pull it apart, pull the cartridge out, clean it. So there's no water to be going. If we needed to do a repair on and get rid of the water, at that point, if we had to, we would just bring a water truck over, suck the water out, and then have to refill it, so that there wouldn't be any discharge going anywhere into the wetlands.
I guess that answers my question, because there's really not much place where you can dump excess water.
No, I mean, most people, whether the town accepts it or not, you see it all the time, they put the hose out to the street. And, you
Ends
know,
up in a river.
and it ends up going somewhere, and most of the time, that's, you know, in the winter time, when any chemicals that were in the water, or even saltwater pools, most of that, the salt is dissolved and not in the pool anymore due to splash out or just dissolving. As far as the chemicals over the winter, usually there's nothing in the pool in the springtime as well, if that's when you would be draining the pool for a repair most of the time. In the fall, if you drain the pool so that it would be a little bit lower, you can just neutralize the water and get rid of the chemicals, and most people discharge to the street. In this case, I don't know that this town allows you to put your water. to the
Besides,
street.
it generally goes into the street, into the catch basin, into the wetlands, so.
Right, so at that point, we would just, in this case, if you ever had to drain the pool, you get a water truck and suck it out.
Okay. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Please identify yourself for the record.
I
Okay.
have another question. You said it was a steel pan pool?
Mhm.
So it's one piece?
No, it comes in panels. They just all, some of them 8 foot, 3 foot, 6 foot, and they all bolt together.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we'll make a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
0-0. I guess we want to add the normal that if the water level is any water that's drained from the pool would be done by a water truck. Since they're not draining out, then, well, is there anything else that we need to cover? Any other, just a standard pool?
Yeah, just we'll note also that it excavates a truck. No stockpiling.
Okay. So, based on that, someone make a motion to, for the order?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
6-0-0. Good enough, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Enjoy the pool.
Thank you, guys. My wife wants a pool so bad. Not in my house, but it's like. We were on pool, we're gonna, came with the house, you know. That's what we're gonna try to do.
That was,
So-
that was 800 stones.
Okay. You want it?
Oh, that's just the pool, that doesn't include the patio. More in the, 200.
Oh,
Yeah,
crazy. Oh, you priced it out? You did, didn't you?
yeah.
$200,000. 25%.
It's expensive.
You should start digging.
With a shovel,
You would be done.
I'd be done by now.
Every day for a year now. After COVID,
Chemical.
I was basically all unemployed.
No, we just skipped it.
I had some soy, patio, and I did my yard, shrubs, 50
That
yards.
didn't come out on the TV.
The new information that was,
I took 20
the
by
new
12
information that was submitted, was put out to the commission.
renting machine.
Nice.
Steph, so how'd you take that grass up again?
By a 12-inch tiller,
By hand. How long did it take you?
9 hours.
I am impressed with your
Told you.
fortitude.
Told you you'd be.
My neighbors told me I was ambitious. I think that was nice.
Like, how you gonna take it up? You're like, oh, with this thing I got on Craigslist, they're like, oh.
Yeah, it's the same tiller that I use for like the garden.
Stressed out.
Renting one, like $40.
Everything okay?
Wow, well, if I need some filling, I know what to call.
I'll meet
You're done. She's like, one and done. I don't know why I own this thing. I'm never touching it again.
All right, I'll read the notice and see what the,
But I would have done this.
we don't want to start the hearing till Landis returns. Town of Walpole, notice of intent Conservation Commission, public hearing. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Additionally, in accordance with the Walpole Stormwater and Erosion Control Bylaw and regulations, notice hereby given the intent of Lou Petrozzi / Wall Street Development Corp. to construct a new single-family home with the installation of all utilities, required site grading, properties at 15 Pinnacle Drive, map 19, parcel 49 and 182. Plans are filed at the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing for this notice of intent will be held in person, April 26, 2023, beginning 7 p.m. All interested persons requested to be present. Hearing's been opened and continued. And representing the applicant is this,
He's out in the hall. No, it's Pinnacle.
Pinnacle. You can continue it if you want.
No, Mr. Chairman, I think Mr. Petrozzi's.
This letter should be read in or just it's
Yeah,
filed?
you can reference that material was submitted.
I have a letter dated May 4th from Mr. Petrozzi, President of Wall Street Development. Following a review of the video recording of the Commission's public hearing on April 26, 2023, it's my understanding the Commission requested additional information regarding the above reference notice of intent attached for the Commission's reference. Following information, recorded deeds to Wall Street Development Corp., revised site plan dated March 6, 2023, last revised May 1, 2023. Photos of demolition of historic Bird Mill complex. And for information purposes only, pending Superior Court Appeal / DEP final decision regarding pond versus river. I look forward to answering any additional questions from the Commission at the next public hearing on May 10th. So that was a letter from Mr. Petrozzi. And representing the applicant,
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Lou Petrozzi for Wall Street Development Corp. So I apologize for not being available at the last public hearing. I did view it on video, and it seemed like the commission had a bunch of questions that clearly weren't being answered, or they didn't have the information. So I'm gonna go through just a series quickly of what we're dealing with. As both you and Jack, people who've been around know, this is the old bird complex that was in existence. This is a 1965 aerial photograph that's been blown up. And you can see the rail spur that was here and all the buildings that run along the back of the, along the pond area at the time. And since that time, the evolution of it was, and then in 1982, they started demolition of the site and started to reconstruct or clear the areas that were previously occupied by rails and buildings. And in 1985, the mill ceased operation for the most part, and the property was all sold to February Realty Trust back in 1985. And at that time, they started the process of getting approval for Pinnacle, what's now called Pinnacle Point, the subdivision called Pinnacle Drive. So these photographs here show a progression of how the development evolved. This is a aerial photograph from 1971, which I'll be showing you later as an overlay. And then in 1995, you can see, and these are all in your package that I dropped off today, or yesterday. These photographs are all in your package. You can see the beginning part of the development for Pinnacle Drive and Misty Lane cul-de-sac in here. And then in 2001, you can see Pinnacle Drive cut in and all of the lots filled along the Bird, on the northerly side of the Pinnacle Drive, where adjacent to Bird Pond. These, and then of course today, this photograph is 2008, and again you can see more development that's taken place. But more particularly, which is of interest to this particular lot, is this is lot 24A, and you can see the dumping that's been occurring on that lot for many years. The commission in 2001 issued a negative determination on this lot, lot 24. And at that time, the finding by the commission was that they wanted the lot to be cleaned up, particularly on the back slope, which is currently, this is the strip of land that you see on the plan today, which is a completely filled, dumped area where the demolition material is pushed over. In your package that I provided also are photographs of dumping that had occurred on the property. These were taken in 2000, that were given to me by the previous owner, showing along the pond, this is the pond in the back, you can see all the rubble that was dumped along to fill those lots over the years. So when the board issued their negative determination in 2001, they were looking at conditions similar to this, where the lots were dumped and filled with the demolition material that's there. In fact, quite honestly, when we go to dig for, we haven't done any test holes on that particular lot. We don't know what we're gonna find in terms of debris and that sort of thing. So the reason I bring these photographs and this evidence to the commission is because it's clearly a lot was filled, it was dumped, it was a dumping area for the demolition material, and it was all pushed to the back of the lot, which you folks all know is drops off quite a bit, and is completely, it's really kind of an unsafe situation, which we'll deal with when we come forward with our other portion of the property. And by the way, Wall Street is the owner of the property right now, so both parcels are owned by Wall Street. So we have,
Can you clarify that, Mr. Petrosi, when you say both parcels?
well, we have both parcels, Lot 24A and Lot 25, the bigger piece of 3.6 acres. I provided copies of the deeds. Should have those.
The parcel that used to be referred to as Lot 9 is now owned by Wall Street?
Well, that's house number 9 is what it's called. This is house number 15, and that's been assigned house number 9, that parcel.
I'm just trying to clarify, so the larger parcel that used to be referred to as 9 is now owned by Wall Street?
Correct,
Okay, thank you.
correct. So, in 1989, this lot was, prior to the subdivision being constructed, it was laid out as Lot 24, pre-recorded to 1996. And I heard Al mention during the meeting that he wanted to know what was the reason why they added the strips along the back. So, if you follow the zoning in Walpole, the zoning in the GR district requires 15,000 square feet for a single family, but 20,000 square feet, you can build a two-family. So in 2004, Mr. Hassenjager added these strips to what's now Lot 26 and now Lot 24A, to increase the square footage to 20,000, just over 20,000 square feet. So he could potentially put a two-family there. Now, that didn't happen. He never even built on the lot. And part of my, looking down the road is something will have to be done with this slope, because the slope is unsafe. It's clearly wasn't done with any kind of engineering or safety thoughts in mind. So what happened is that this strip occurred, and while I understand that the river regulations pertains to lots that were recorded prior to 1996, which this lot is, the fact that additional square footage was added to the lot to make it a bigger lot, but not infringe any further on what is the riverfront area, the entitlement to that doesn't go away just simply because they added a strip of land to the back of the property. So without getting into the minutia of who's right and who's wrong, essentially, the buildable portion of Lot 24 is the buildable portion that it is today. We're not changing that. But there's one thing that bothers me a little bit, because I was doing some research with the old conservation files, and this is what you see here is the current existing lot with the house shown shaded in blue, and this is the 200-foot measured from the most recent ANRAD that was approved by the commission of last year or the year before. The interesting thing is that when you compare this line to the riverfront area on the 2001 plan, this is where it is. That's the 2001 riverfront area. So somewhere along the line, I don't know what the condition of the pond was back in 2001, whether it was, that, as you probably know, the dam can fluctuate. The elevation of the pond can fluctuate based on how the dam is handled. So while it is right now, based on what your ANRAD says, that pond could be water level in the pond could be lowered, and that would maybe end up resulting in this, this being the 200-foot riverfront area. But the bottom line here, from our perspective, is that the lot, regardless of whether or not it was, we want to agree on a pre-recorded to 1996, there's no question that the lot was dumped on, used as a dumping area, and filled over the years. And, you know, the area that's there now, I don't know if you've been out there, but we've got photographs that were taken by Mr. McManus, and we've got photographs that show the existing condition of the property. And what we're trying to do is clean the area up, basically, whether it's this parcel or whether or not it's the back parcel. You know, our interest here is to clean it up and to do, you know, of course, there'll be some type of development there, but the main objective is to start a cleanup process, and this would be the first start. Originally, we had included this parcel as part of our 40B application. This was slated to be developed with either 2 or 4 units on it, and we've decided collectively, you know, my team, that it would be better to keep the harmonious nature of the development as a single-family home, and that's what we're hoping that we will do with the commission's order of conditions. So I think that's pretty much where we stand. I will say that this is, I don't know if the board has seen this before, but this photograph is the overlay of the previous 1971 photograph. This is 15 Pinnacle Drive, where it is in relationship to the Bird Corporation operation going back over the years. So it is, there's no question that it was part of the Bird Mill Complex. It's a degraded site, and it was the demolition that took place. All of the material is dumped there. So at some point, you know, we'd like to engage in some other conversation regarding the future of the rest of the parcel. There's a lot of things going on with that piece right now, as you probably know. So and that's pretty much it. Paul McManus is here to discuss any kind of regulatory issues, but that's, I think, hopefully answers all of the questions that were raised at the time of the last meeting.
If I can just add that at the last meeting, there was a request made to me to kind of clarify clearly what I considered the extent of the degraded riverfront to be. So I did submit a letter on May 8 with that explanation, which is basically that I had delineated the northerly edge of the dumping with my ED flags, edge of dumping. And those are actually, as it turns out, just a little bit off-site to the north. But my opinion, my view based upon being there is that the riverfront, which goes to about the midpoint of this lot, that's all part of the degraded area. You know, as Lou said, the 71 aerial shows clearly, you know, tractor trailers parked across the area that, excuse me, that currently has about a 20-foot change in grade. So it's pretty clear that excuse me, that lower grade extended back. Excuse me. So I just wanted, I also put in a brief note about, you know, the question was asked about, you know, why aren't we seeing all the typical numbers that we see, you know, for riverfront filings, which often involve a lot of number crunching. But there's two scenarios where that applies, neither of which is the case here.
I will say that Landis had asked for the total amount of area within the riverfront area that was being altered or being subject to this, and That's 6,238 square feet, keeping in mind that the buildable portion of the lot is only 15,000 square feet. Upside down.
That will share.
So, Lou, can you clarify that 6,238 square feet of riverfront area? Does that include the tail too?
No, it does not include anything in the tail, it's basically this, what I already here, that's 6,000 square feet. We have,
But the tail's potentially also in the riverfront area, right?
the tail is all in the riverfront area, this whole, I mean, the riverfront area encompasses all the lots going down.
Well, there's
Trying to get to Misty
the
Lake.
riverfront area that's on this law is what the question is,
Right.
not on the property.
Within the property that's within the jurisdiction of the riverfront area, approximately 6,238 square feet.
That doesn't include the tail.
Does not include the tail.
But the tail is part of the lot, right?
The tail is part of the lot, but
Dean,
Sorry,
wait.
sorry.
it's not, we're not proposing any development or alteration of that strip. In fact, the strip is only 5 feet wide, so you cannot even, really be lucky to walk down there with the slope that's there now. You cannot, you cannot physically do anything there. So, we wouldn't be proposing anything there. At some point, between the two homeowners, that this, well, we own this one, so between this one, we would like to, these folks don't need it for their zoning any further because it's single-family houses. It only requires 15,000 square feet. So at some point, we would like to take possession of those so that we can do something with that area to make it a safer condition. I don't know if you remember. when we were down there.
That's not,
not
that's
part of
not
this,
really
right.
pertinent to this hearing.
Part of this, but the answer is, we're not going any further along those strips. And there is work that's, Paul had mentioned, that's gonna be done along the rear property line to sort of clean that area up a bit, and, do some plantings, and it'll be much better situation after we build than it is today.
You have anything else?
Nope, I think that's it. No? Questions?
Okay. Landis?
So, some information that was requested at last meeting, the copy of the ownership, we did receive that, Superior Court copy, we received that, and some additional photographs. The issue of the Pre-River Protection Act, that was not submitted until sometime after 5 on
Yesterday, yeah, I dropped it
because I
yesterday.
left at
Yeah,
5.
yeah.
So it's not really enough time to go over and really digest it. Because you're stating that because lot 24 was recorded prior to October 6, 1997, that the status stays the same even though it was reconfigured to 24A in 2000.
What I'm saying is, I don't think the status of the lot changes because we added additional land, or because additional land was added.
It's a
No,
different-
we
if
heard
it's
what, you
different
heard what your
lot.
comments, so
Yeah.
let Landis.
So it's a different law, it's 24A, so I am recommending to the commission here a legal opinion from town council on that
Okay.
issue. It's like, it's not just added, there was
Well-
another lot that was also configured, so it's not part of the original subdivision plan, it's different. And
I'm not gonna argue either way. I think it's, that's one issue. The other issue is, from a regulatory standpoint, is the entire lot is a dumped area, degraded, and.
Right,
so-
and you submitted information regarding that too, so so Mr. McManus has stated tonight that it's their extrapolation or based on his professional opinion, which I know is very knowledgeable, that the information that was gathered just on the other side of the lot, the extrapolation is that it's degraded on this lot.
Well, no, I think what Paul is saying is that it's degraded from that point all the way to Pinnacle Drive. Not that it stops anywhere, the whole lot, I think we.
I understand what you're saying, I just didn't see
Yeah.
the, other than what was stated tonight, the information that was backed up that. Is it fill? And as far as the RDA that was issued by the commission, for lot 24 back in 2001, the portion you left out about that determination is there was also stated that any additional work in the riverfront area should be filed. So they acknowledged there was a riverfront area there. The application was just a determination, good for 3 years, so it's not good now. It showed just the box of a house, and that there was less in the riverfront area, and the conditions included cleaning up the rear, and that additional work would require filing under the River Protection Act. So I just wanted to bring that forward, because that was the part that
Thank you.
you did
I-
not mention with the RDA, and I think it's applicable. And with the other lots on site, also cleaning up of debris was also requested. So I don't know how much debris was even cleaned up on lot 24 either.
Probably nothing.
So, I know it was used as a staging area and not, Stephanie uses as a staging area. So I think just trying to get it clear, because there's a difference, there's a big difference between if it's all degraded and it was, pre-river, the portions of the River Protection Act that apply are significantly different. So I think that the commission needs to be really confident of those decisions.
Okay,
I'm requesting to them that, they ask you for a continuance so we can answer those questions from town council a little better.
I don't think we need to continue this because, I don't think anybody would go out to that site and not see that it's been filled or that it's degraded or that it was used as a dumping area based on even the photographic evidence that I've submitted tonight. There's no need for a town council to make a decision.
Oh,
It's the commission's
that's-
discretion, right? So-
Right, so you're saying that it's a redevelopment of previously developed riverfront area and not just a previously developed but a degraded riverfront area? Well, the whole site is a degraded riverfront area. And so under 10.585 is a redevelopment in a fully degraded area, is that correct?
That's correct. Because
So-
if I can clarify.
At a minimum, the proposed work shall result in an improvement over existing conditions of the capacity of the riverfront area to protect the interests of the act. So that has to be met. You cited that in your report. And so, there has to be a improvement over the existing conditions of the capacity of the riverfront area to protect the interests of the act. So
Can I comment on that?
What you're saying is the 20-foot area that you're going to replant is the improvement of the capacity of the riverfront area to protect the interests of the act.
Can I comment? I don't want to interrupt. Yes, the provision is that there be an improvement, and the improvement that's proposed is to renaturalize that back area. In addition to that, to obviously get rid of the superficial dumping that's up there.
Only on lot 15, because the majority of the dumping is off-site. It's not on
that-
15
that's-
Pinnacle.
that's
Already
correct.
stated in your photographs and in your information that
The
you
whole lot,
provided.
the whole lot has been dumped on Glandis. I don't understand where you're just making the
In order to
distinction.
clean it up, you'd have to excavate out the whole 15 Pinnacle.
No, I don't
You're
think
talking
that's,
about
I,
That's not
removing-
true.
no, I think.
So anyways, I'm gonna state my information that
I
is
asked
provided
if I could
in
respond.
my report to the commission. They have it. I thought maybe you guys would also wanna have it, so.
Well, it would be nice if we
and
got
then
them
we'll
ahead
go
of
from
time.
there. So then, in addition, stormwater management is provided, and YouTube provides stormwater management. Proposed work shall not be located closer to the river than existing conditions or the 100 feet, whichever is less. Well, you can't really go any, you know,
Can't go any
you
further.
say that you can't go any closer to the streets. I understand there's a 30-foot setback, the
Right.
house could be smaller, but, so, and then the, you know, states that the first 100 feet of the riverfront area, there should be established, the first 100 feet of the riverfront area should be vegetated and left unaltered.
Well, we're not in the first 100
Right,
feet.
you're meeting a standard, but it's off-site. So you're saying you meet it, but it's off-site, but you also, as you stated tonight, you own that property.
What's your point?
So you-
Tell me how that figures into the regulatory aspect of this.
you're meeting a standard that the only way you could meet the standard is protecting the first 100 feet of the riverfront area.
If there's two separate parcels, and this is the zoning parcel that we have, we're not altering the first 100 feet.
Owned by the same person. So let's see, and D again is the proposed work, including expansion of existing structure, shall be located outside the riverfront area or towards the riverfront area boundary and away from the river. There's a couple of issues that came up with additional information that you submitted at 5 o'clock on Tuesday.
Which you read? Did you read it?
Was not fully able to vet it, as I just stated, that I'm recommending the commission that they need additional information from town council.
Well, why don't we take this one step at a time, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind?
That's it,
That's
Mr.
what
Chairman.
we're doing.
Is there any question, first of all, that this lot was part of the Bird Mill complex? Is there any question of that?
Yes,
right
there
now?
is, it's under appeal still.
We're not asking for the exemption under the Bird Mill complex, but is there any question from this board that this property was part of or owned by the Bird Mill complex, as you see in this photograph? Is there a question of that? I just want to know, because if you cannot make that conclusion based on the evidence that we provided, I can't really think of any other more obvious determination that the commission could make.
Personally, at this point, you've shown a lot of photographs, and I can't tell you where Pinnacle Drive is relative to that.
Well,
And
we have it labeled, and so,
It may be. Again, if it's in that package that you handed out yesterday, we hadn't had a chance to look at it.
well, we all know,
And I don't know what if that's pertinent at this point to ask if we agree or disagree with that.
Okay,
Do you have
well,
any other
Let's-
comments?
let's try another angle.
Is there anything else you'd like to add at
Yeah,
this
I want
point?
to add, I want to try and fine tune the commission's position on certain things. So this is what we presented as the 1971 plan with the overlay. This is Pinnacle Drive. Does the board have any question whether or not that is Pinnacle Drive, or this is Pinnacle Drive, or is this Pinnacle Drive?
Well, you're asking if we have questions, but we need to go around the room and actually
It
ask them.
Okay.
You're looking
Through-
at,
through
you're
the
showing
chairman.
those, I haven't had a chance to look at it, I can't tell from here.
Okay.
So, do you have anything else you'd like to add at this point?
I don't think I can add any more information because,
Good. Landis, did you have anything else at this point?
No, I think the question being not, was it part of the mill complex in 1980 or whenever? The question is 15 Pinnacle Drive, the whole riverfront area that you're proposing to develop, is it degraded riverfront area? And is it a pre-existing riverfront area lot?
Okay.
That's the question that needs a
Right.
little more
What more information would you want, other than what we provided?
I'm
That's
saying
the
it needs
that's the
more,
question, not
more
what
direction
you-
from other people. You've submitted your information, we really appreciate all the information you submitted. If it had come in a little bit earlier, then perhaps we would have some of the answers.
Okay. Dean?
So the NOI is for this lot, but you're really focusing on the square, the original square.
I don't know what she's focusing on.
I'm talking to you. So the whole, like the tail, that should also be considered as part of this. Isn't that right? When you do an NOI, you do the whole property?
Well,
If I can answer that?
Yeah, that's for my education.
If, the tail is part of the property, but the tail is not part of the proposed work. So the redevelopment provisions apply to proposed work, apply to previously developed lots. And it says a previously developed lot contains areas degraded prior to 96, et cetera. So my opinion is the lot is clearly previously developed. The tail is also degraded, but it's not germane because it's not part of the work that's proposed. The degraded provisions proposed to degraded riverfront area where work is proposed. So, I mean, one can have a 50-acre parcel that has 1 acre of degraded area that these regs would apply. So the tail is, as I said, it's part of the property, but it's not part of the project.
But should it be?
Okay.
Oh, I have more
Dean?
questions. Should it be considered, so it shouldn't be considered as part of any of your work, even though it's in the riverfront?
I'm sorry?
So it's not considered part of any of your assessments because it's not being worked on? It's not gonna be part of it?
That's correct. It's not, right, it's not part of the project footprint.
Okay, and these piles of rubble material, that's off the parcel?
The slope is right near the bank. You can see, it's kind of hard to see, but there's topography on the Glossa plan. But there's a 20-foot, the lot's relatively level except for some piles of debris.
In the back?
And towards the back, but on the upper terrace, I'll call it. And then the back slope drops about 20 feet.
20 to 30 feet, yeah.
And that's where, there's concrete and metal and those sorts of things coming out of the slope. So I can't say for certain, I haven't dug holes in there, but I do know from the aerial photos that back when the property was active, I know that lower terrace continued up.
Oh, here it is.
Whoop, thank you.
Yeah, but that's off-site, I mean.
That's
Oh,
the
it is
information he submitted on the ED, that was.
So if that's off-site, would you have to put
site. But you're
Oh, it's just-
NOI in for the other parcel then?
I delineated the edge of the dumping along there. I didn't know precisely where the property line was, but it's similar to, obviously the BVW is off property and the mean annual high water lines are off property, but they're germane.
So that's on the 25 Pinnacle Drive parcel, right?
15, well,
15. It's not part of this little.
that's on the 15. It's not part of this, and by the way, so you know that there's a strip between 15 Pinnacle and 25, and 9 Pinnacle. We don't have access to that other riverfront area.
So that very steep face,
Then, yeah.
that very steep face, the bottom of it is that irregular line that I've gotten the red oval there. And the face, continues on the foreground on the lower portion of that picture is the upper, what I'm calling the upper terrace. Below that irregular line is what I'm calling the lower terrace, which was
Lower terrace, yeah.
the old,
So it was pushed down, all the way down to that line, in other
Why
words.
wouldn't you, so if the goal of this project is to clean up that, why wouldn't you submit an NOI for that piece of
You
parcel?
will.
Oh.
You will be having an NOI, but it's something that,
We can't really discuss here.
well, it's not part of this application, but there will be an application
So
for
why
that
is that
site.
information pertinent to this NOI?
Because it shows the limit of where the dumping took place, pushed all the way down to that line. In other words, we're not alleging on the other side of that, on the northerly side of that line, we're not alleging degraded area beyond that line, but everything to the south of that line is dumped or degraded area onto 15 Pinnacle, which is,
So that, yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna just show them, so basically, it's this area right here, you can see the steepness of the slope.
You have to show that
Yeah, we
to
can show that.
everybody.
I have shown it to everybody.
Well, when you're
You
pointing at what he,
can't directly talk to just one commissioner, I guess.
So let me just say it this way. So this is the slope that we're talking about. This is the upper part where the houses are built. This is the slope that's there. It's at least 20 to 25 feet of drop. That's unsupported in any way, and it's
Part of this
amazing.
lot, that's part of this lot or off property? Is that off property?
Actually, it's part of both of those lots that have the finger-like projection on it. In other words, and we only have, there's two lots. There's two lots that have, there's two lots that have the finger-like projection. What's in blue is what we own.
Right.
The other strip, we don't own.
What others, where is the other strip?
This other strip, that,
Lot 26, you can just
yeah,
barely
that
see it.
strip goes
yeah.
down and it's adjacent to that. We don't own that.
Oh, there's another strip, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, oh, yeah, yeah, I
So
see
we
it.
can't cross that strip.
Right,
to-
right.
To get to the other portion of the area.
Uh-huh.
So, but that strip, for whatever reason, I don't even know how it got approved, that's all pushed over debris that they dumped, as I showed in the photographs. There wasn't any project supervision or requirement that the material be done, disposed of any other way. I don't know, so.
Dean, did you have any
No
other
more
questions?
questions. Thank you for
Bailey?
answering.
Is there any trash or rubble in your strip?
Oh, sure.
Are you, so,
So I can't remove the strip
right,
either. I mean, you can't even work on it. You cannot work on it.
okay,
It's only 5 feet wide.
yeah,
So, but we are taking this to the back of the lot line where the strip starts. And that's what we're proposing as restoration.
yeah. But someone could walk back and hand-pick trash.
Are you kidding me? This is not trash that's there. This is large chunks of concrete
Yeah,
and demolition. You need an excavator
Oh.
to do this work. And you will see that in the next round of when we come in for the development of the adjacent parcel. And hopefully we'll have some ability to go onto that property and do some cleanup or stabilization of some sort. But this property here is the first step of we just purchased the property a month or so ago, and this is our first effort to start the cleanup process.
one more question, you say it's gonna be a single family, not a two-family, even though the strip allows you to be able to build a two-family.
Yeah, it's gonna be a single family, and quite honestly, we would like to take that strip, if we can get the other homeowner to do that, we would like to take ownership of that strip and just eliminate it from that 15 Pinnacle. And that will give us a little bit more control and ability to do things without having to ask permission from homeowners.
Great, thank you. Thank you, that's it.
Doug,
Not at this time.
Okay?
Emilio?
So you're proposing to restore the first 20 feet, the north from the north? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
back from the slope up 20 feet.
Is that where the degraded area ends, or the debris
Well, no,
field
the
ends?
degraded area ends beyond that.
But going south?
Going south, the
It ends
degraded, the whole lot is degraded, so, but
Why are you only restoring the first 20? Why are you stopping?
well, the
there?
rest of it's gonna be restoring, what's the definition of restoration? The back of the yard is, where it is degraded, is gonna be lawn area and other type of landscaping.
Okay.
But in terms of plantings along that rear property line, there's gonna be plantings, primarily, as I keep saying, it's kind of a safety issue, but we don't want people going down the hill and tumbling down the slope, down down onto the property, adjacent property, because it is a very, I mean, I don't know if you've been there at all, but it is an pretty unsafe situation there.
I use the term the 20-foot strip is to be naturalized.
It's not, and I was gonna say this thing, this is not a restoration of the riverfront area, because as it seems like you're stating, the whole area from the top of the slope down is the degraded fill. That's
Right,
what
but
I'm hearing from you, so the 20 feet that you're gonna be scraping up some of the fill and putting in some plants is not a restoration of the riverfront
I don't know
area.
what- I
It's
don't-
not a river, it's not a restoration of the riverfront area. You're not taking out all, what you're telling the commission is all degraded, which is from the top of 15 Pinnacle all the way down. It sounds to me that you're saying is all fill that was dumped there
Correct.
when they demolished the buildings that were
Right.
there back in the 80s.
Correct. We're going as far as we have the legal
I
right
want to
to,
clarify that.
yeah. We're going as far as we have the legal right to go within our boundary of the property. Anything beyond that is owned by somebody else, so we can't get from where we are to
A
another property.
clarification, the definition of degraded riverfront area and what they're planting on this strip. That's
Listen,
important, as Mr. McManus was.
Well, that's, we're getting into a little semantics. We all know that.
We're
the
talking about regulations, it's not
Right.
semantics, it's
From a
laws,
from a
it's rules,
practical
it's
standpoint,
regulations.
from a practical standpoint, the area is a mess. It needs, this is our first effort to start to clean it up. There's a lot more work that has to be done there, not just on this parcel, but on the adjacent parcel. So we're trying to put our best foot forward to try and start that process. It starts with an order of conditions to build on this lot, that we can start doing things there. And then we will roll it out, our plan for the adjacent
Okay,
parcel, which
that
is,
has nothing to do with this hearing, what's done the next, whatever you're gonna do on Jason Park. Anything else, Emilio? Okay, Betsy?
Yeah, I think I have 3 comments or questions. First of all, when we've seen these aerial maps before for your other project, someone, and I don't think it was you, Mr. McManus, but maybe a previous engineer, nicely penned in on each of the photos where the lot in question was. I keep trying to orient myself in respect to the ball field, the triangle, June Street, but my eye is like going off, and, I mean, it's, so, a little red thing around each of these, the 1971, the 1982.
right, well, here, I'll
No,
just.
I know you're pointing, but I'm saying actually, in your previous project, it was nicely outlined in red. Someone found out where it was, like you did there, but it's got to be done on all of them. So, for example, your 1982 one there, where is it on the 1982? Where is your lot on the 1982?
The whole Pinnacle Drive didn't exist then.
I know, but where's your, so I know Mr. McManus can do it, and I know your previous engineer did it, and that's, so I'm asking for that, since we're being asked to compare and contrast from one year to another, what happened with the mill complex. I've seen it done before, so I know it can be done. You put a red box on each of these.
So you want me to overlay the existing
Yeah.
property lines on every photograph that I've showed you?
Sure, because you're making the point that in 82, your lot was thus and such, and in 1995, your lot was thus and such. I've seen, you did it before in your previous one.
understand,
And it was a
but-
good thing. And the second thing is, you were saying that your riverfront area is fluctuating because the river goes up and down, because it's dammed up and all that.
All I'm saying is that it just, there's a difference in the line between
So-
2001 and
So I'm,
2020.
well, so
At
I'm
this
pointing
point,
out.
at this point, what you're showing us now is what you're
Yeah,
presenting
yeah.
I was
for.
gonna make a
So
different
what,
point.
so what you, whatever was, in whatever year that was, is not pertinent.
Yeah, but I was gonna make a
Betsy?
different point.
Go ahead.
A more general point. The fact that it fluctuates is kind of what the Riverfront Acts are all about. It's that you're in an area that has a lot of fragility and variability, and floods happen, droughts happen, and just the fact that you're noticing yourself that your line fluctuates, that's kind of what we're here about tonight. I mean, it's a riverfront, and riverfronts have that characteristic. And then finally, you're saying you're not altering the first 100 feet, but ultimately you are going to, right?
Well, it's not part of this, as Jack would say, it's not part of this application.
Well, then don't put, I'm not altering the first 100 feet as part of what you're doing on behalf of the riverfront.
Right, well, I can't because I can't access it from my parcel 15.
Okay, all right, so then don't bring it in. In other words, if it's not about this parcel, it doesn't seem relevant.
If I can, it's a provision of the regs. So when we look at conformance to the regs, you tick off the provisions. And that one, it's a provision, essentially it's not applicable because the 100 feet's not on the property. But, I would never submit, A, B, C, and then skip to E and not include D. That's what we're doing. It's a provision and we're ticking it off.
Okay. Anything else, Betsy?
Well, no, I don't think it should be ticked off if it's not part of this project.
Excuse me, Betsy, you understand that this is a man-made pond and the height and the elevation of the pond is regulated by man.
Yeah.
People have the ability to regulate the height and elevation of that
It's
pond.
also a river, and rivers have a way of doing things
There's a
too.
definition of where it's measured from, so I don't think we need to
All
debate.
right, we're not gonna
We've
talk
got a
about that.
line on here which we are accepting your engineer's location of that, because that's his job, and he's putting his name and his license on board when he puts this on a plan. So I don't think we need to get into that, and so there's a definite, this has been determined, this is what you're showing us. Do you have anything else, Betsy?
I might know the answer to this, but I'm not sure. When the rail line goes through that particular area, was it elevated on a, was it coming in high on Earth? Or was it coming in more or less level with the buildings it was heading in the direction of? My impression is that
back of that one.
as it gets further toward the East Walpole Station, it gets pretty high, which is why the East Walpole Station is way up here.
No, this is, the rail spurs were all level ground.
Are they pretty flat? Okay, they are flat.
All level ground
Yeah,
at
okay.
Cherry, this is
All right.
East Street.
So then it starts to go up once it gets past the
Well,
building.
this was the end of it, when it goes this way and crosses over Washington Street, it's elevated over Washington
It's
Street.
very elevated.
Yeah, so, but when it's out here,
It's flat, okay, all right,
Flat.
it's flat.
and then this all drops down, you can see, this is the shadow of the trees, so you can see when the photograph was taken.
Yeah, so I'd love to see a red square around where your property is. Because I'm looking, I see the ball field, I see June Street, I see the little triangle thing, I'm like, gee,
But
it can be done.
it can be done, but isn't one enough? I
No.
mean, you need to see it on
No.
every single one, this
Yeah, I
is
do.
71.
Yeah, I do, because that's what I've been doing here. I've been studying your really gorgeous aerial photos and just trying to use my eye and trying to resist doing it myself with ink. An engineer can do this.
Okay. Anything else, Betsy?
That's it for the.
Al?
You explained how the strip came about and the little triangle out on the street frontage to make the lot have a certain number of square feet for a two-family house. Okay, now, has the planning board accepted this lot with the tail as being the same lot before the tail in this little triangle?
Well,
Or is the planning board calling it two separate lots? Is it the same, or is it not the same?
so this is the A and R plan, you're familiar with the A and R plan, approval not required signed by the planning board? And at that time, in 2004, they created this lot, this lot, this lot, and this lot was revised to include the strip. So, these lots also have a strip in the back. Okay? I wasn't there, I don't know exactly, but the planning board did sign this plan in 2004 that added the strip onto, and modified these lines so that whatever the intended use was by the applicant, it met the requirements. So like in this particular lot that was revised, they also created a drainage easement that was necessary for Pinnacle Drive. I don't know what the status of Pinnacle Drive was in 2004, whether or not it needed, a modification in the drainage or anything like that, but that was added as part of this A&R plan. So the planning board signed off on this plan, and if it were me, I would have done it differently, but they did acknowledge that these strips are shown as attached to those particular lots.
But are they saying that it's the same lot that you're using as the foundation of all this that was formed in the subdivision in the 90s?
Well, the planning board wouldn't make that determination. That's an interpretation of the regulations, and it, in our estimation, we're not changing what was previously the buildable portion of the lot pre-1996. This area here is essentially the same area that was in 1989. It's a little bit narrower, to be honest with you, but it is essentially the area where the house will be built. It's not increasing the impacts to the riverfront beyond what was previously noted as part of that 1989 plan.
Anything else, Al?
That's bothering me. The fact that it's been dumped on, I accept that. I've seen that. I was there when they were excavating and doing some of the demolition, and they discovered that buried were probably 100 tons of coal, because the operation operated on coal. And they just dumped it and got rid of it. Okay, they didn't bother taking it away or using it. So somewhere in this site, there's gonna be a big deposit of coal.
It could be.
Okay. In other places, there was a lot of sand. But, I will accept the fact that most of this is degraded from an old industrial use. And I saw it back in the 70s as an industrial use. In fact, my brother had a job there in the 70s. So I understand that. I just don't think that this is the same lot that you're basing your rights and privileges on the earlier subdivision lot. It's not the same.
Well, let's set that aside for a moment. Let's say we didn't argue.
Do you have, that's, anything else, Al?
No,
Okay. I agree with what Al just said, that the lot before us is 15, which has the tail and is changed, is a different shape than the original 89, if that was the original filing for this subdivision. So that this lot now stands as it is today, and I think it was also shown on an 04, maybe, plan. It was sometime later subdivision, when probably Pinnacle was developed. So this is the shape of the lot, which is not, is different than what was on the original Pinnacle filing back in 89. So, with that, and with the fact that you have provided a significant package of information here, in which you probably did cover this evening, but I personally have not had a chance to look at it, that we will continue the hearing.
So,
You don't have anything more to revise yourself, is that correct?
well, other than Betsy's request that we draw a lot on this, on all of our photographs, the commission is not asking for any additional information. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know until I review this if you answered all of our questions. So, at this point, this needs to be reviewed, and so we'll put that on what's our next hearing? What do we got? Yeah, we've got time on May 24th. We got 7:15, make it
7:20.
7:20.
Yep.
We got, yeah, okay. So we'll make a motion to continue this until May 24th at 7:20.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
700. Thank you.
I'll agree to continue it.
I think the request, right, it's usually,
I
the
just trying to-
commission requests to continue, the applicant agrees, or
Oh, yeah.
otherwise the commission closes the hearing and renders the decision based on the information.
I understand, Lynn, that's what the
Okay.
rules are. So other than the fact that the commission is not of the same opinion that we are regarding the pre-recording of the lot, then if we're gonna proceed under the regulations as a degraded lot, correct?
Then it should be just a great degradation on the lot. We shouldn't be hearing about things off.
All right, the hearing is closed.
Oh,
Well,
So we will continue this on May 24th.
What time was that, Mr. Chairman?
What time?
Yes,
7:20.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Let me know if you need any more information.
Yeah, okay. All right, all right.
Just have to find where that lot is. Page after page.
yeah, that's when we match them all.
We have another hearing, I think.
Oh, look, I think this is yours.
Oh,
It's
that's right.
underneath there. Oh,
That's
God,
why I
how did
didn't
that
get it.
happen? Here.
Okay. I wanna look at that.
Yeah, take it home and look at it.
You take that home.
Yeah, this is the letter from Norfolk County, this is the beta report.
Is there a new beta report? Did they get together?
Yep, this is just May 9th, that his new comments are in red, and he's here as well tonight.
Oh, he is. Okay, I thought he wasn't going to be around. Okay. Town of Walpole abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, Conservation Commission public hearing. According to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act and Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, notice hereby given the intent of Norfolk County Engineering Department to confirm the wetland resource boundaries, Norfolk County Agricultural High School, 400 Main Street, map 13, lots 166, 167, 168, 169, and map 18, lots 1 and 2 in Walpole, Mass. Plans on file at the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing on the above matter will be held in person February 22nd, 2023, beginning 7 p.m. All interested persons request to be present. Hearing's been opened and continued, and representing the applicant,
Mark Manganella with LEC Environmental Consultants.
Okay, and thank you for your patience.
We didn't have much choice.
Go ahead.
So, this is Pat Higgins from Norfolk County Engineering Department. You'll recall we were before you a couple of weeks ago to present this ANRAD. At that time, we were very close to the finish line, I think. We had one reservation about a finding that was related to clarifying whether there were any undetermined resource areas or buffer zones on the property. So we talked it over a little bit, agreed to a continuance with the understanding that we would meet with your consultant at the site, make sure the entire property was sort of evaluated so that we could come to a conclusion whereby the commission and the applicant would be on the same page with regard to the ORAD, stating that all resource areas and buffers within the ANRAD site boundary, which we defined on the plans, were covered. Mr. Nero met with Nate Goshgarian from LEC last week. They walked the site. They walked all the areas that Jonathan hadn't been to, and I'm sure he'll give you his summary. They didn't find any new resource areas. They did extend the delineation slightly at the very southeast or southwestern portion of the property, which you can see, maybe Pat can point to it. That dashed gray line is the ANRAD site boundary, and they just added some flags down in that area where there's BVW on the south side of the perennial stream. Doesn't significantly change any buffers or riverfront area or anything like that, but it just sort of completes the picture in terms of delineating resource areas. Pat also adjusted the ANRAD's boundary slightly where the perennial stream leaves the site, just to make sure, again, that all resource areas on the property were covered. So I believe we are all in agreement at this point, and turn it over to the commission or Mr. Nero to confirm my side of the story.
Good, thank you.
I can just
you were
take a
saying-
minute.
Oh.
Sorry, Chairman. Patrick Higgins, Norfolk County Engineering. And the reason there were none of these BVW were delineated was when I gave marching orders to LEC, I said just go from the banks of the perennial stream and northeast. So things have kind of migrated where we added the ANRAD boundary. That's why there was a gap with those were missing from the original, because originally I told them to delineate everything from the perennial stream north and east, so.
Want to see what's anything, or we want to let?
No, I'm gonna
Mr.
refer
Nero?
to Jonathan Nero from Beta, who did our peer review.
Good evening, John Nero, project scientist with Beta Group. So everything Mark summarized, is accurate per our site visit. Just a little more detail. Focus, and when I say the site here, referring to the ANRAD site defined on the plans, walked in the interest of the scope of the ANRAD now, including confirmation that no other resource areas are present. We walked all of the uplands to the northeast of the field, those wooded areas. I would just note that typical to agricultural fields, there were some low spots with some standing water, some occasional soft rush. Again, typical for agricultural fields, but no hydric soils, no defined hydrology, so those areas are essentially just low-lying puddles, not regulated as wetlands. The resource areas we did find in the field, again, is that BVW at the south side of the plans, wrapping around that perennial stream. We essentially flagged that BVW. It's a wet meadow, maintained agricultural field, horsetail, skunk cabbage growing up, pretty much extends to, sort of a border of dandelion, actually separates the wetland from the upland in that area. We flagged it out, tied it back to the stream, and then started to flag it out again. We noticed that the wetland line essentially projects straight south all the way to another agricultural pond south of this area. So we said, that at that point we're getting kind of outside the scope of things. So we walked the remainder of the south side of the stream and you'll see the sort of green highlighted upland island there. So, the center of that is uplands, everything outside of it is wetland. So really what we observed is, with the exception of a small break in the flagging towards the center bottom of the page, that upland island and an adjacent cart path, the entire south side of the ANRAD site along that stream is within BVW. The upgradient boundary is just so far out of the study area that it wasn't flagged, but the area is wetland. To Mark and Pat's point, flagging out those portions of those areas and having these observations completes the ANRAD scope, but it does not project any, additional jurisdiction onto the areas north of the stream. So at this point, I think the applicant has provided with the definition of the site, has provided a fairly comprehensive assessment, all of the wetlands and uplands, riverfront areas and floodplain within the study area. And we provided some, modified recommendations for findings in the ORAD to reflect that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Well, Al, Landis, you want to comment or anything?
I just want to confirm so that everyone's in agreement that the resource areas that are listed in Table 3 of the May 9th Beta report are the resource areas within the ANRAD site boundary that we will list on the ORAD.
Yes.
Okay. And that the recommendations for the findings, as stated on page 7, are good as well. Okay.
You have anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Al, you have any question?
My question is, you mentioned horsetail. Do you know what particular variety of horsetail?
I'm sure
I
Mark can
know
agree
there's-
that's a tough
there's-
one, but,
There's two of them in Walpole,
right.
okay? And both of them, along with the ginkgo tree, are prehistoric relics.
Right.
And the small one, the small of the two horsetails, is very difficult to get rid of. I have it in my garden and can't get it out of there.
So my best guess, it is early in the season. I didn't take an extremely close look, only because, according to the, north central, northeast plant list, every species of horsetail we find is either facultative or wetter, so they are all considered wetland indicators. But my best guess is it's probably field horsetail, I believe, which is the smaller one. It's usually prolific in disturbed agricultural fields and landscaped areas.
Okay. That answers.
All right. Dean, anything?
No questions.
Bailey?
No questions?
Doug?
No questions.
Medio?
Also.
That's it?
No questions.
Anything else, Al?
No?
Okay.
No, I want to know the species of horsetail.
Okay. We don't have anybody in the audience that I can sit, right? They're all done. Okay. Thank you for your comments and presentation. Who want to make a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make it.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
700. You had some conditions you wanted to.
No, well, just that the ORAD will reference the resource areas, jurisdictional as identified by the applicant in Table 3. I usually list out the flags and everything, so we'll list what's on 3, and then the findings will take the recommendations given by Ada. That's the ORAD.
So that's the,
Yeah,
that's what will be in the order.
And the plan, we don't have to use the plans.
I mean, I get it.
Oh,
Just
yes?
have to revise plans. Thank you very much for accommodating our short schedule in the last week or two.
All right, someone make that a motion. This is a
ORAD,
ORAD for
order resource area delineation.
delineation.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That's all we need to identify that.
before,
We got a number, okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's
That
for
takes care of it.
315-1282,
Yeah, okay.
400 Main Street. We'll list the assessors.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Good, thank you.
You too.
Thank you, John.
That's it, Chairman, unless you saw anything else on your agenda that you didn't get.
Yeah, just let me know.
We're still on atmosphere. You know,
Okay, nothing new on appeals, any, no
Your
other
garden's in a
correspondence?
I thought better.
That thought crossed my mind, too.
Good job not doing that on the,
Yeah,
TV.
yeah.
That was saucy.
You have, no correspondence or anything that we need to
No.
bring up?
Yeah, we're gonna take that back. Wait a minute.
Mr. Terrell, where is, what's your address?
You have anything?
No, I have no additional information for tonight.
Common one is
We're waiting
about
to get these signed and
Okay.
we'll
the
bail
other
out.
one that's in Walpole is about 2 feet high.
We done?
Well, we've got to sign this.
Thank you.
That's cool.
Thanks. Yeah, let them go before the stampede of all
We off TV?
commission goes out the door. We got to sign something, then we'll be ready to,
And when you dig it up,
Sign
so
off.
the roots look
We gonna
like
go into
they're
executive session?
what was that?
No.
Tried to brush that off. Call your attorney.
Doug, you gotta do that one too.
Okay. So this is their final drawing, right?
Okay, we're all here, I guess. Thanks, Dean.
You need this one?
Did we move to adjourn or did you?
Yeah, when we get this done.
No, I just got the,
We moved to adjourn, yes?
When he's done,
Oh, when he's done.
Last meeting, I didn't get the single.
you ready?
Did you have to fill out one of these cards? Sign?
No, because
Are we,
it went to
You
you.
want to make a motion to close
Right, make
it?
sure to close it.
I didn't.
That's too
it
late.
didn't come to
second,
me.
all in favor? We're
Aye.
done?
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.